there's a fair number of us that have come to this wonderful country from far and away, looking for opportunities and working very hard to try to make the best we can. And I'm super excited about all the few weeks coming in October where you will get to hear. I didn't exactly plan it that way, but we are covering 3 or 4 continents over the next 4 weeks where our speakers come. Today's speaker is a dear friend of mine. He comes to us from Kenya, and I'm gonna, this is the abbreviated version of the bio because I had to cut some stuff out because we only have 2 hours today. Is that's right? Okay. Hussein Kitabwalla is CEO of Food Transformation and Service Operations North America for Sodexo, which is a food service organization. As CEO of Food Transformation, he is responsible for carrying out Sodexo's strategy for expanding food services. As CEO of Service Operations, he is responsible for a portfolio of activities, including operations, efficiency, and growth. I did not realize, for those of you that don't know, Sodexo has 420,000 employees. I'm pretty sure that's a typo, but we're gonna go with that for now. And they serve 100 million consumers each day, which I'm also sure is a typo, but we're gonna go with it. They do on-site services, benefits, rewards, personal and home services. Before this, Mr. Kitabwalla led the industry-acclaimed retail brand group. He began his career at Disneyland in Anaheim. That's why he always likes to have fun still, where he was responsible for operations of their restaurants. He was named a mover and shaper in Restaurants and Institutions magazine, which I did not realize that they cover health and fitness, but he's shaping and moving all the time, as well as he was a national finalist for the 2009 National Association Faces of Diversity Award. He earned his bachelor's degree right here in Ohio from the College of Worcester. It's actually not on here, but I think he meant to put it on that one of his most valuable experiences has been working at the College of Worcester in the dish room with your 2021 program chair. So and that's really what shaped him. And I'm sure he's gonna tell us about that. So not much more, Hussein Kitabwalla.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? You guys thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, so thank you very much. I said the bios are always good because you write them for yourself, right? Sorry, I can't hear you. Okay, you good? I can keep going? Can you hear me? Okay, all right. So thanks, Asad, and thanks for that generous bio, even though it was written by people in my organization. So it's always nice to say nice things about you, but that's very kind of you. It is a bit of a homecoming for me. As Asad mentioned, quite honestly, my first entry into the United States was Johns Hopkins Airport in January of 1987. There was a blizzard.
Oh, we're waiting for that. I neglected to have our perfect attendance lunch, our free lunch for perfect attendance drawn. So I'm going to ask Tyler, would you come up here and pull one of these numbers out of this bag? Number 75. Who is number 75? Paul Organ. Woo! Free lunch next week. All right, anybody know any jokes?
Can you hear me? Hello?
You say you got the memo that we're working on this, didn't you? Can you wave if you did? Great, and I should probably be saying Mr. Kitabwalla instead of Hussein, but I'm a very familiar kind of person, so what can I do?
Perfectly okay.
Get to know me, we're on first name basis. So our team did rehearse this. We did practice because we knew, huh? They can hear it in Zoom.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay, we need this. Oh, okay. Did you hear that, Dave? So if the people who are on the Zoom call can hear him, it's just those of us in this room that cannot.
Can you hear me?
So you're listening? Oh, so do we all need to sign on to Zoom? All right, well, as long as I'm, what? Say some, I can't because my mics are dead. Did you guys kill my mics? Husein, could you say something now?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, that's very good. Is it loud enough?
It's perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, great. I'll do it as efficiently as I can, but thank you for that introduction, Asad. It's always nice to read something you've written by yourself, so or somebody else. I appreciate it. But this is a bit of a homecoming for me. As Asad mentioned, my first entry into the United States was Cleveland John Hopkins Airport in the January of 1987. There was a blizzard going on, those of you who remember. The guy picking me up at the airport was another international student, didn't know how to drive in the snow, so he was driving with his high beams on, and I thought I was going to be dead because this thing was coming down. I had never experienced snow in my life. So Ohio is home away from home for me, and I feel connected with all of you, and I appreciate this opportunity. What I wanted to do was to really just give you some guiding principles and things that have worked for me. I'm more American than I am Kenyan. As Asa said, I was born and raised in Africa and Kenya. However, for me, immigrant leadership in retrospect has really been a series of coincidences. And I can say that today, having lived, 54 years of my life to this point, and in reflection, having children and family, etc., and career, how did this all come about? And I can spend a lot of time, but maybe in the next 15 minutes, I'll give you just a flavor of what it means for me, but more importantly, kind of the ecosystem around me that really helped me get to this point. And clearly it's not about me, but it's about how folks enabled me. So what I'd like to do is kind of just give you 5 core principles that I kind of live by and that are self-effactive, and I continually tend to reflect on them. But one of the first lessons in leadership for me, and I broke down the word leadership as in lead a ship, quite frankly, for me, oftentimes leadership is about leading a colony or an organization or a bunch of people, or leading your family, if that's the case. It doesn't matter on the size. But the first exposure to leadership to me was goat herding. And growing up in Africa, during the summer breaks, my fathers would say, go get a job, do something. And I would herd goats. And those of you who know goats, they're the most undisciplined animals on the planet, quite frankly. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason of where they're going to go, what they're going to eat, etc. And it can be infuriating and frustrating if you're trying to get them into, one kind of direction of in and out of a fenced area, etc. And goat herding gave me a lot of perspective because I had a lot of downtime, because you basically had to leave them alone. And I just sat down under a tree or in some shady area, and you just sat there, you reflected, So when I look back at it, what did goat herding bring for me? It brought a lot of patience, because, you're out there for several hours of the day in the sun, it gets hot in Kenya during June, July is kind of the hot season for us, in December also. So reflection was quite a gift that I received. But I think one of the things that I would first mention is the concept of good luck. For me, coincidental leadership has a lot of good luck to do with it. And if you think about the idea of buying a lottery ticket, and the guys that have won lottery tickets, we always, admire or are in awe of somebody winning hundreds of millions of dollars. But for me, I came to the realization at some point in my life that good luck is nothing but opportunity and preparedness. And when the two meet, it's magic, and magic happens. And for me, that manifested growing up. And the reason I'm here is because of that good luck. And I'll give you a quick snapshot. In 1982, there was a military coup attempt in Kenya. And that led to the universities being closed for 1 year. So there was a backlog, so when you finished high school, you had to sit out a year before you were eligible. Now, for me, I had no, grandiose expectations of coming to university in the United States, let alone anywhere outside of Kenya. I was already going to Nairobi University. But the high school I was in had kind of recommended two of us for a financial scholarship at Worcester. Didn't know anything about Worcester, had no concept of looking for colleges, none of that, right? So 86, I graduate, 87, I had to sit out. So my dad says, go get a job. So I get a job with a travel agent, and the guy says, I'll hire you, I'll pay you 3,000 shillings a month, which equivalent of $30 a month. And I'll give you a free airline ticket once a year as your vacation. At that point, I had no idea how long I was going to work for him, etc. So I said, whatever. At the end of 86, the Worcester came back and said, here you go, you have a scholarship, 80% scholarship, 20% work study, whatever. So I went to the guy and I said, hey, I got to go to Worcester. 1 year is elapsed. So he gave me a free airline ticket, Pan Am, first class. So I flew first class from Kenya to the United States. Never imagined, right? But if the coup had not happened, the universities were not closed, I didn't get a job, I don't know that I'd be in America having this. So that context and retrospect of, point in time, the right opportunity and being prepared for it and being able to jump in was really critical for me. And that's kind of how I got to the US. And then I never looked back, right? The next day, the next kind of pillar for me is necessity is the mother of invention. Growing up in Kenya, I mean, we did odds and ends, but getting to Worcester, there was urgency of getting a job. So the dish room was hiring, and the second, I think third day I was in the dish room. My first experience was slipping and falling with a rack of silverware because I had no concept or idea of how to work in a dish room on wet floors, etc. And the idea of the food service was another opportunity that came along. And I had to find some way, even though my academic orientation was going to be around economics and political science, the job was available in food service. But I did not realize at that point that food service was going to be kind of the entry way into my life and career today and what it's done for me. But my learning there was, keep an open mind, keep your options open. I came to America with the concept that I was going to be an economics a major and a political science major. I switched my major halfway into and I minored in economics and I majored in poli science. And there was a process of self-discovery that was important. And I think food service, custodial services, during the breaks, I cleaned windows and toilets and whatever it took. But the idea of, being able to be present at that moment in time and doing what you needed to do was important. And Asad talked about us working in the dish room. But many summers we were cleaning waffle irons, right? Scrapping away, the crusty oil. Every summer, everything had to be cleaned up and rebuffed. And that's how you met people. That's how you understood how to engage and communicate with people. And that led to, another dimension of understanding, coincidental leadership, because then I ended up being a student supervisor in the food service. And quite frankly, dining services became an anchor for me. They embraced me. A lot of people gave me a lot of chances from the director of food service, etc. And that was really critical. The third dimension for me is the human spirit. It's important to have faith, and you got to dream, you got to believe. Courage is important, but trust. I think your ethos, one of your ethos is around trust. And in this day and age, trust is kind of a waning factor, right? But for me, when you sang, God Bless America and or the national anthem, always brings tears to my eyes, because there's no country in the world that provides you an opportunity to be able to do whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. And I think it's incumbent on all of us who have this opportunity to really continue to fuel that fire. Young man Tyler, you know, it's an inspiring story, what you've achieved. And I hope you can continue to move forward and do great things. But that's the beauty of this. No name product coming to the United States on a jet plane, not knowing what my future is going to look like. But a lot of people gave me chances coming along. And so I think nurturing the human spirit and accepting people for what they are at this point in time versus through your own lens is so critical. And that requires constant self-evaluation, because it's so easy to look at me and say, okay, here's a brown guy, whatever. So you start making judgments, you know, even before you have an opportunity to have a conversation. So I just offer that. For me, it's an everyday process, because you can imagine in what I do, I come across a lot of different dimensions. And I don't look at it just from the concept of, you know, career. I think about the human spirit as the guy flying the plane when I'm going from, you know, Newark to Australia, or the flight attendant, or the person who meets me at the hotel front desk. Those are all moments of human spirit. And total strangers you're trusting your life on them. So it's really critical to, you know, realize that in real moment. The fourth one is love. You know, passion, focus, commitment comes from the heart. And I never realized this more ever than when I worked for the Walt Disney Company, that the magic of the heart is so critical. And I'll tell you a quick story. It was kind of the end of the day in the park. And at Disneyland, we used to, you know, peak summer day, about 75,000 people. So there's a lot of people coming in the park. And I worked on Main Street, USA, Frontierland, and I had a bit of Tomorrowland, okay? So restaurants in those areas. So I walked a lot along the park. And as I was going from Main Street, where the statue of Mickey Mouse and Walt Disney is holding hands, there's some benches around the circle, and there was a mom and daughter was crying. So I stopped and I said, hi, you know, what's the matter? Because it was on us to make sure we created magical moments, as corny as it sounds, but, you know. And the mom says, you know, today's our last day. She hasn't seen Ariel. It's her favorite character, etc. So I'm like, okay. So I went backstage. I had the opportunity to, you know, go into casting. I asked the casting, you know, stage manager to see if Ariel was available. Ariel came out. The kid lit up. You know, they had a moment. Ariel left. She was walking away. Turns around, and the little kid says, "I love you, Ariel." And the mom writes a letter. At that time, it was Mr. Eisner, the CEO. It says, the power of the magic. My daughter is autistic. She has never spoken before. And that's the first time she said, I love you, you know? So I think love is important, because it's sometimes considered touchy-feely, mushy, but the heart does not have judgment. The heart is authentic. And we've got to really nourish and nurture that, because, you know, particularly for me, I deal with a lot of different diversity of human beings. And it's very easy to, you know, close things down and look at it from one dimension. So for me, you know, coincidental leadership allowed me to really appreciate different people that I did not know and took a chance on me. So the least I can do is give that gift back for this last 33 years that I've been in this United States of America. And the last piece is attention and intention. For me, it's critical to be present. You know, attention energizes. So anything you pay attention to will be energized, and intention transforms. No matter what point in life you're in or what age you're in, that is so critical. If you don't water a plant, it's going to eventually wither and die. So for me, you know, coincidental leadership was to really being very focused on what you're doing, whether it's time with your kids, time with your family, time with peers, whatever it is you're doing, because the past and the future are properties of imagination. The past is recollection, right? It's something you recollect, you learn. The future is anticipation, you know, what you want to do, what you want to be, whatever it is. But this moment in time, this conversation we're having is real. And manifesting that and capturing that is really probably the most important thing we can do. And that process allows you to stay present when you're having a conversation, when you're thinking about something, when you want to achieve something. So these 4, 5 dimensions for me are really critical. In terms of being an immigrant coming to the United States, I never viewed myself as an immigrant, quite honestly, until recently, when the vernacular and the volume, the acoustics went up, and immigration, race, color have become very critical, and how we look at the lenses of all of the diversity of the United States. But back in '87, I was just another guy from Africa, came to the US, Worcester, Ohio, small city, and a lot of people gave me a lot of chances. So my message to you is, which leads to from goat herding to meaning and purpose in life, and that's kind of, the parenthesis in this discussion that I'm having with you, is that Dharma simply means, it's a constant discovery of a meaning and purpose in life. And I wish that for me, as I get more advanced in my years, I don't want to be rich or wealthy. I just want to be kinder to people, not kinder in terms of being nice, but accepting people for who they are and what they are. Ability to help them, achieve whatever they want. Because one of my core values is to help individuals and organizations achieve their objectives, their dreams, their purposes in life. And I'm not a rocket science. I'm not a physicist like Asad is, a PhD. I don't have any grandiose, but I think the gift I can give is revert back what this country and the people in the United States were able to offer me to allow me to get this point in life. So I'll leave you with this thought. Life is eternal, but the expressions of life are ephemeral. They're transient. They come and go, right? And we as human beings are a parenthesis. We're a moment in time, that we're placed here at this moment in time to give, to love, to share. So let's not waste that opportunity. Let's make the most of it. So I appreciate the moment, and have a great day, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you for having me.
Okay, that was wonderful. Thank you very much, Hussein. That was fabulous. I know I got a lot from that. And do we have any questions? I see one, Randy. I would bring you this, but the batteries are dead again. Pardon me? That's to help pick up all of our sounds as much as it is for this. So that one.
I'm curious, a couple things. Number one, the statistics that they gave at the beginning, were those close to being accurate? And number two, where are you located right now? Where do you live? Where do you work out of?
Yeah, Sodexo is a global company. Thank you for the question. We are in about 60 plus countries. We do employ over 486 plus or minus thousand. In the United States and Canada, we have over 200,000 employees. We make up about 45% of the volume. I live in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I came to Sodexo through an acquisition in 2002. I worked for a company called the Wood Company, but prior to that, I was in California. And yes, the statistics are correct. We do serve over 100 million consumers, both in our on-site services. So our business cascades through universities, colleges. In Ohio, we serve a lot of colleges and universities, corporate accounts. We also serve healthcare facilities, seniors, and we do have government business. You might know, we do the Marine Corps, we do the House of Representatives in DC. We also have a sports and leisure business, so we serve the Miami Dolphins in Miami. For example, we also have energy and resources. So we do everything from onshore and offshore services for our clients. The other thing is, Asad mentioned benefits and rewards and personal home services. So you may be familiar. It's a three-legged stool. So we have on-site services, personal and home services, and BRS, which is benefits and rewards. We acquired a company from, I believe, Columbus, Ohio, or Akron, called Comfort Keepers. So they're part of Sodexo's portfolio. So our objective is to help the quality of life for people wherever and whenever we serve. And by buying and acquiring companies in these three particular verticals, what we want to do is be able to serve our customers, consumers from what we say cradle to, you know, their advanced years in their lives. So everything from K through 12, childcare facilities, all the way up to, you know, the seniors' homes that we serve. So I hope I answered your question.
Did that answer your question? Yes. Okay.
Hussein, maybe if you can do maybe a two-part question. One, maybe a little bit of a cliche, but you have such a vast experience. Is there some particular challenge you can think of and bring it, you know, just a moment in part of your career and growing up? I'm thinking a little bit past the GOATS period, but more recently. And the second part is also, I know you and I have talked many times, and during COVID, many of your people were on the front lines and nourishing and providing services. So tell us a little bit about that. That might be really insightful as well, assuming we have still a moment.
Yeah, for sure. I'll take the latter one first. You know, I was because of my role in the company, I was asked to lead the to North America, the pandemic response team. And boy, what an experience that was. You know, we with healthcare and seniors, you know, we were at the front line 24/7, but we were also dealing with you know, other businesses closing down, corporate services, universities closing down, etc. The other issue was supply chain. You know, so part of my responsibility is supply chain for North America, which includes food and non-food. So PPE was an issue. I had to make decisions to make sure that our teams were well. You know, garnished with the right PPE, and as you know, at that time, once the Trump administration made a deal with 3M, all of the pipelines closed down. So, you know, we were looking to get the stuff from China, and the regulations were changing constantly from the CDC as far as what an approved KN95 was versus a 3-ply. So we were making decisions on the fly. We were buying millions of dollars of worth of PPE. And today, in retrospect, some of those were no longer approved by the CDC, and they were changing regulation. The other thing was, you know, we were in uncharted territory. A company our size, at least in the US, we were making decisions on standard operating procedures we never had to. For example, how do you clean, you know, a room in a healthcare facility after somebody has died right after COVID? Typically, we don't do that. But the healthcare facilities were so stressed with, you know, the number of fatalities that were happening that the clients were asking our frontline people to clean those rooms. So writing protocol, making sure that we took care of them before, you know, they went in and cleaned the rooms. The protocol on the air turns in the rooms. I learned so much around whether it's 72 hours or 12 turns of return air before you could go in and clean a room. So COVID was an interesting time. It also challenged us to change our business model, quite frankly, because the new normal is very different. The labor shortages that have come as a result, the stress on the supply chain, the buildings not opening up 100%. How do we keep ourselves relevant and still continue to have a viable business? So that's a challenge, us to reinvent ourselves. As far as personal challenges in life, I think I'm manifesting them more through my children. As you know, I mean, I'm you know, from another country. I'm married an American, a white woman. Our kids are interracial, and I think they're going through their own evolution. And I think that the biggest opportunity is helping them figure out their identity. I don't know, quite honestly, and I have to be very honest about this, that I've experienced any kind of adverse, you know, experiences around my appearance or race or culture. I have to say, and if I have, then I'm just either naive or just, you know, not tuned into. Yeah, some little things happen. People call you names and stuff like that. But that happened in Africa growing up too, because I was technically a minority in a Black African country. So I came here not expecting anything, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think the kids, because both are born in America, they're going through their own identity, and you know. And I have a daughter who's 23; she's a graduate from college, and a son who's 20. So that they're quite older too. But that I would say is probably, it'll be interesting to see how they evolve versus. I mean, for us, we've moved on. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. So Husein, one of the traditions in our club is to have a responder for every one of our programs. And today's responder is Dr. Randy Smith.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Husein. I'm going to go by your first name because you've been such a personable person here today. You know, we don't hear a lot about the American dream anymore, but as a kid growing up, you know, your mom always told you you could become president someday if you wanted to. I mean, the American dream is that anyone from any socioeconomic climate, from any race, any religion can do whatever they put their minds to doing. And I would say that you are the definition of the American dream. So it was been fascinating to hear your story. It's fascinating to have this technology to be able to hear a story from someone like yourself that is remote. And again, American dream, what could be more American than Allentown, Pennsylvania? So thank you very much for being with us today, and appreciate all your words that you gave to us today. Thank you.
Thank you. I truly feel lucky and
great
to have this.
And then, so we will close our meeting with the 4-way test. Maybe. I don't know what the deal is. Okay. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thanks so much. Have a great week. See you tomorrow night at Bistro on Main.